Hello, everyone. This is Biz Soul, the podcast that will feed your business and your soul. My name is Valérie Quinault, and I'm here today with Ines Bourgeois. Hello, Ines.
Hello, Valérie.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's start by asking you to introduce yourself.
So my name is Ines. I'm half Belgian, half Spanish. I grew up between Brussels and Barcelona and then moved a bit around. Did my studies in the UK, worked in Paris and Milan, and about a year and a half ago, I launched my own fashion brand, which is called Less is More.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So first I want to understand, actually, what was your childhood like? In what kind of family did you grow up? What were your parents doing? Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah. So I have a younger sister, but we're quite close, even if we're very different from each other. I had a very happy childhood. As I was saying before, I really was moving quite a lot, but it was a very stable childhood overall.
The moving around, was it because of your parents' job or?
Mostly, but also because my mom is Spanish and she was fed up at some points about Brussels and the weather.
We feel her.
Yeah. So sometimes we moved back to Spain because of that. And then when we went back to Brussels, it was always because of my dad's job. And you were asking what my family does. They're all lawyers.
Okay.
So really not a very creative vibe background. All of my family, so my grandfather, my dad, my mom also studied law, my uncles, my aunts, even my sister studied law afterwards. And my dad really wanted me to do that as well, but I said, nope, not happening.
So what did you study?
I studied business.
Okay.
I think you can't really know when you're 17, 18, what you want to do. But I knew what I didn't want to do, which was law or having to learn something by heart. I knew I was more of a creative person, but since I wasn't very sure what I wanted, I did a more general thing, where you could have different opportunities afterwards. So
opening doors.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about fashion. Do you remember the first time you kind of discovered you loved fashion?
I don't have a specific moment of my life that was like a déclic, or I don't know how you say in English, but I've always been like the creative kid. When I was a teenager, I remember I had design and sewing lessons, and we did a fashion show where as a part of the talent show of the school, and I designed dresses for that. So it's always kind of been there. But with time, I've realized I'm not so much a designer, more a thinker. And
what's the difference?
I mean, well, when I was young and I was doing my sewing lessons and creating my dresses and all, I prefer the moment of the conception. Okay. And like imagining the piece rather than doing the technical work. Okay. Like I'm not good with hand stuff. I'm not very good at the manual things. So
yeah, well, I think it's very important to know what you're good at and what you really enjoy, and what you're not good at, what you don't enjoy. So, okay, I want to go back a little bit, back to the UK when you were studying. Mm-hmm. What happened afterwards? So after the business, what did you decide?
So I think the decision didn't come at the end of my studies, but more at the beginning, because I knew fashion interested me. And I also knew it was a very competitive environment. And it's a world where you need to have contacts maybe at the beginning to get in, which I didn't really have. So I decided to try and get inside of the fashion industry at the very beginning and did a lot of internships while I was studying business in the UK. So I remember every single summer I did internships in Paris. Tried finding opportunities to get fashion in my CV and also have a bit of experience, understand if it's really what I wanted to do. And then when I finished my studies, it came as a very clear decision.
Okay. So, I mean, can you tell us more about the internships? For which brands did you work, or what were? I'm more interested also in your impression. So, what did you understand during those internships?
So I did different type of internships, always in communication and marketing in fashion. So with roles involving PR, press, event management, digital, social media, but always around communication. And I worked for different type of brands. So at some point I was at Chloe, which is part of a big group. But then I also had experiences in more small family-owned brands like Missoni in Italy. And you can really see the difference of how the company is regulated. I mean, when you're in a very small family-owned company, it has nothing to do than being, I think, in a brand that is part of LVMH or Kering or...
It's a different culture. I call that the company's culture.
Yeah, company culture. So.
Okay. And so was there a moment where you like really felt like, okay, this is for me, I love fashion, I want to give it a try? Or were you always more like having doubts and let's try it and see and I'll figure it out? Or were you like at a certain point where you're like, okay, this is it, I want to try this?
I really wanted to go into fashion. While I was studying, all my friends were going for banking or consulting. And I remember I was the only one going my own different way. And I always thought to myself, I know you don't get very high salaries. I know it's a difficult environment, but I really want to do this because this is what makes me happy. This is what I like. And I'm going to go for it. So I don't think I really had doubts. Maybe the doubts came afterward, after having a bit of experience and realizing maybe that's not what I was imagining.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you tell us more about that? Or maybe first let's keep the timeline. So after the UK, so what did you do after the UK?
So after the UK, I directly moved back to Milan. I had done a few internships there and I really liked it. And I got offered a position for a big editorial group where I worked there for 2 years in digital marketing. Mm-hmm. And that was super interesting because also working in Italy, it's a very specific environment. I think that fashion is really different also in terms of countries. If you work for a company in the US, it's not going to be at all like in Europe. And even inside of Europe, there's a lot of differences.
True.
And it was a very interesting experience. So my role was very large because the editorial group had a lot of different magazines like Vogue, Glamour, Architectural Digest. So I was more in the fashion side because that's where they spoke more English. And not a lot of people spoke very good English. There were mostly Italian people. But still, I had different projects for different magazines. So it was really a different project every single time. And I learned a lot.
Okay, but that's very good that you're focusing on the positive. But can you tell us a bit like what didn't you like about... I like when you talked about the culture of the company. Mm-hmm. Is there something you didn't like or where you realized like, this isn't really for me?
A lot of things. I think mainly it was a bit of a disappointment when I realized that when you start in fashion, it's very difficult to grow. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, you're going to have a very specific job where you tend to do the same thing and don't evolve as quick as other industries where, for example, after 2 years, I know I'm getting this position, and then I know that I'm getting my bonus at this time. And in fashion, it's really not like that. I think another thing that I would like to see evolve more, but it's already changing actually, it's this idea of competitiveness between people, between brands. There's a lot of competition that is very fierce also because fashion has a lot of strong characters. But now that I launched my own brand, I do see that things are evolving. Like new brands have completely different mentalities, and you meet a lot of people that are more in a collaborative mindset and you want to support each other. So I think that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome indeed. So what happened after those 2 years in Milan?
After those years in Milan, there were also some other values of the industry that I didn't really like. And also I started asking myself some questions as a person regarding sustainability and the way things are done. I was in the press, so I could see all the greenwashing that was happening. We were writing about all these conscious collections, but then you were thinking, if they're producing so much, how can this be really conscious or sustainable? And this added to the company culture made me think, okay, is this really where I want to be? I love this industry. I think it's beautiful and it's amazing. But there's something that is not right, and I want to take a break and think about what I really want. And so I quit my job and I did a master's, and at the same time COVID arrived. So that's what happened right after these 2 years. And with COVID, I started realizing how much what my initial thoughts were actually true, because during COVID, I think we all realized that you don't need to consume that much. You don't need that many products. Even companies were not selling, so maybe realizing you don't need to produce that much. And that's where I had the idea while I was studying for my master's to do my own thing and to maybe launch a brand with a different mindset and different business model.
And that's when you created Less is More.
And that's when I created Less is More. Yeah.
All right. Tell us everything about Less is More.
Okay. So Less is More, it's obviously a play on words. It's written Less is More like this.
Mm-hmm. So for the people listening to us, it's le in French. So it means the, and is more in one word. Is more. Yeah.
But obviously the meaning behind it's less is more. Mm-hmm. So the idea of the brand is that there's only one piece per season, no collections. And each piece is versatile, so it can be worn in different ways. They're all adaptable and size inclusive. So it's always one size that fits all. And everything is made in Italy, made on pre-order. So it's only what is ordered and demanded that is going to be produced, so that there's no waste. And that's the main idea of the brand.
I love it. I love the fact that people order and then you produce, because exactly. I think that's really something in our society that I think probably now we're slowly understanding, that, you know, if you want the resources to adapt to your desires, then it's really limitless, because people are always going to have desires. And I'm thinking also about food, for example. If we want to always produce and produce and produce, it's really exhausting the planet, whereas we should adapt to what's available. So that's really something that I love about your company. So how did it evolve? How is it working? How do people respond to that concept? Who are your customers?
Mm-hmm. So now it's been like a year and a half. And this first year has been really a year of understanding if the business model works, if people are okay with buying in advance and having to wait. The answer is yes. And then it was also a test to see if people like the clothes. Some do better than others, but the good thing with pre-order is that we can adapt to this demand. And now after 1 year, I know which type of pieces will work best and which will work less. And then the type of customer, it's really, there's two types of customers, I would say, because each time I launch a piece and it comes on pre-order, there's a discount. So to really encourage people to take the pre-order and the more responsible, mindful way of purchasing. Because obviously if you're gonna wait for it to be produced, you're gonna think more about it. Like, do I really want this? Is this really something I'm gonna wear? And then you're like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to wait for it. And so there's a type of customer that is going to wait and really take that piece because they know it's something that they really want, and they take advantage of this discount. But then obviously there's still some people that like to purchase in the moment. And this is more, I think, older generations. So people who buy more on pre-order or maybe until their 30s. And then ladies that are a bit older, they still like to go and see the piece in person. And that's why every time I do a drop of a piece, there's always a 20% extra stock created for these events where people can really come see the product and buy it in the moment. But it's just a smaller part of the production.
Okay. And so which nationalities, where are your customers from?
Mainly Italy, because I launched there. A lot France as well, but it's been a bit all over. I would say the second or third bigger nationality is the US.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Americans consume a lot, I think. And they really, really like when something is made in Europe. They really value that. So it's mostly Italy, France, US, and then the rest of Europe. So not yet Asia. And
Yeah, well, you still need to keep plans for the future, right? So, okay, very interesting. So I always say that, when you start your own business, that your business is kind of like a mirror also of who you are, and you're always evolving as a person, and that your business is also evolving with you. So I wanted to ask you, since the moment you started and who you are now, did you see something change, or did you understand stuff about yourself and about also the way you want to do business?
This is a very broad question. I do think that what I've realized about myself is that I cannot do everything alone, and that human connections and human relationships are very, very important, and this in business as well. When I first had the idea of less is more, I was a bit scared of talking about it. First, because I thought people would judge me maybe, or think, oh, yeah, sure, you're going to do a fashion brand. Like, doesn't seem very...
Yeah, very realistic.
Yeah, or maybe that someone would take my ideas, or I don't know. There were many reasons that didn't make me want to share what I was going to do. But then slowly I started talking to people and realized that everybody can bring you something. And really, the people you would least expect can help you a lot, or even by saying one thing, it can support your ideas. So really connecting with people And at the point where I am today, also connecting with people who are doing the same thing as you, because sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you can feel a bit lonely. You have highs, you have lows. And if you meet people that are in the same situation as you really get stronger together. So this is a thing that I've learned, I guess.
So I don't know where to start. Maybe, yeah, let's say, can you describe what was the most difficult time of your career or your life, actually? Because I think you cannot really separate both. And what helped you overcome it?
My career is not that long because I'm 26, so it's...
yeah, but so from your 26 years on planet Earth.
So from my 26 years on planet Earth, I think it's not a specific moment, but, having the imposter syndrome. I think that many people have that, and especially
many women.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had that all over my life and career. When I first started my first internships, I thought, what am I doing here? I've never worked in fashion before. Then I moved to Italy, and in my first job, I actually didn't speak Italian very well. I faked it a bit to get in. And then even launching a brand, you feel a bit like an imposter. Specifically for me, launching Less is More, it was mainly related to the fact that I'm not a designer, which is what I was saying before. And I never studied fashion design. I did business. And at the beginning, I felt a bit like an imposter because there's so many amazing brands where the people who have developed them really know fashion and they create their own things. And I work with amazing people who help me create my ideas. But I'm not a designer, and my fashion brand is not a designer's brand. And
that's okay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm okay with it. And I understand that this is my personality, my brand, and my type of doing things.
Mm-hmm. So what helped you overcome the imposter syndrome, or what keeps you going even though you're feeling it?
It was also because, so I've started about a year ago my brand, and I still don't take a salary from it. And what I do on the side is that I consult other brands and other companies, mainly related to their branding or sustainability. And I've realized nobody knows what they're doing. So that helped me a bit. Being able to see other people who also are a bit in the same situation,
exactly.
who are all learning.
Successful people, Oprah said she had imposter syndrome. You know, if Oprah has imposter syndrome, like...
Exactly. And nobody knows exactly what they're doing, and that's fine.
And yeah, it's okay with figuring it out. All right. So when I was little, I thought it was always complicated, like, because people were always asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was also kind of like you said in the beginning, like I knew what I didn't like, but I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. And I was a little bit also jealous of very passionate people who know like very early on what they're going to be or do. But then something that helped me during my career is actually understanding in which moments I felt most alive. So that's my next question for you. What are like, can you tell us the moments where you feel most alive?
Thinking about this question, the first thought that would come to mind is maybe big moments, you know, where when I launched my website or when I sold this amount of dresses in this event. And I realize it's not those moments. It's more little moments in life where you're in a very good state of mind and you just get a good idea and think, wow, this is going to be amazing. And maybe spending time with friends or your loved ones. I don't think that the moments where I feel alive are important moments. Like big moments that are supposed to be the ones where you are supposed to feel alive. I don't know if it makes much sense.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But
business-wise, because you kind of highlighted the fact that it's through your ideas, right? That you like. How does that happen then? How do you get? What's your creative process? Let's say what goes from like nothing to a piece somebody's gonna wear one day.
Well, the good things is that I don't do collections. I do only one piece per season. So I have a lot of time to think about that piece. The first idea can come from anything that inspires me at some point. But then, as I was saying, I'm not very good with my hands. So I'm going to explain my first vision to my modelista. I don't know how you say it in...
It's okay. We'll stay. It sounds
pattern
sexy.
maker, my pattern maker. And then we're gonna work together on a piece. We're gonna create a first prototype, try it on, and then I'm gonna be like, okay, no, this has to change. This we're gonna reduce it. This like that, and then we're gonna create a second version of it, and then a third, and the fourth, until it's perfect and great. Because if you do a piece that is going to be versatile and you can wear in different ways, it's very complicated to get it from the first time.
Yeah, you have to do like prototype.
Exactly. And I think the way of doing only one piece per season really allows me to get those versatile pieces right.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the future. We're January 5th, so Happy New Year, actually.
Happy New Year.
What can you wish you for the future and for the year that's coming?
In personal way or business way?
Both. I always say it's one brain, so.
Yeah. So it's a bit of mixed feelings, because on one side I want to grow a lot. Probably this year I would like to raise funds and scale up the business and go to the next level. And at the same time, this first year and a half of launching my business has been filled with lots of highs and lows. And for my mind, I would like to detach also a bit from it and be able to enjoy life without thinking 24/7, less is more, less is more, less is more. So if I can do both at the same time and I can manage that, it would be great.
Okay, so actually that was also one of my questions. What keeps you healthy and like body, mind, spirit? Like, do you have any practices you do to stay healthy and stay sane?
I don't have any specific practices. I've always been very bad with trying things that people tell you, like, oh, you have to drink a water with lemon every morning and to do this yoga or meditate. I'm very bad at, I can try it, but after 2 days, I'm going to stop. But I do think that routines are important for me. And it's going to sound very, very basic, but sleeping, eating well, it's for me the number one. Also trying to do sport even if I hate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You hate sport and you're still doing it?
Well, I try more for my mental health than for my health.
Okay.
But I do very little of it. My cousin is a Pilates instructor and she has super cool 20-minute videos. So I do only 20 minutes here and there. I don't work out super much, but I try to do a little bit. And then also I think seeing people is important. Definitely. To stay healthy in your mind and your body.
Do you have mentors?
I have a lot of people that have helped me. There's a few people that don't even realize it, maybe. Like one of my first managers when I was working for Chloe, she really changed my way of seeing what a leader of a manager is, especially for women, because she was a very, very funny woman. She would make jokes with everybody in the office, and still she was really respected. And And at that moment, I thought, okay, I want to do my own thing. I want to grow in business, but I also want to be happy and chill. And sometimes you have the idea when you're a woman that you need to pretend in a certain way, to be very serious and very cutthroat to make it. And she really inspired me in that.
Yeah, to stay yourself and
Yeah.
stay. Okay, well, I mean, it's already 30 minutes, so we're going to be wrapping it up. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Wishing you all the best in the future to find that harmony between more of less is more and less of less is more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.